Because it's so very, very good. A little bit of philosophy. I imagine phone cameras on a spectrum, ranging from phones that excel at simplified auto modes, consumer-friendly point and shoot, all the way to more exacting manual or pro modes for specific kinds of content creation. In my brain, the phones that bookend that spectrum are Pixels on the more simplified side, and Sony Xperias on the more pro mode side. I recently shot a video about the Pixel 5a explaining why I thought that camera app was so good at empowering people to take better photos. And I feel like I should do something similar for Sony Xperias because they're not as dissimilar as one might think. I believe a lot of phone manufacturers get themselves in trouble when they try to be all things to all consumers in one app. There might be a concern that multiple apps might be confusing, but I think trying to cram every feature and setting into one piece of software is usually clumsy. It creates a steeper learning curve navigating that one camera interface. Sony's are appropriately highlighted as the most camera-like phones available today. A lot of care and attention has gone into an Xperia that it should feel familiar if you've ever shot on a Sony Alpha. That might seem intimidating, but there's a fundamental advantage to a camera company making a smartphone camera app. Like the Pixel, what we want is a setup that can deliver useful information to the user and keep the user focused on composing their shot. The Pixels achieve this by moving UI elements to the borders of your screen, keeping the viewfinder as clean as possible. Sony achieves something similar by making excellent use of the phone's screen in this aspect ratio. The camera sensor is 4:3. The screen is 21:9, so you've got a ton of space to dock modes and settings and options while keeping the viewfinder as simple as possible. It looks intimidating, but you're really looking at this while lining up your shot. When shooting stills, we don't even waste the pixels for an on-screen shutter button. We can keep that layout even one step simpler still because they built hardware for you to take your pictures with. All of your settings are immediately accessible, but you're not really fiddling with these for every shot. I know this seems to confuse and enrage tech reviewers, but it's not as complicated as they try to make it out to be. The complementing idea to simplicity and control, we're not wasting space to have a mode slider. This is one of the worst camera evolutions to ever hit smartphones, and I'll never forgive Apple for ruining all of our camera apps. A list of modes on the side of your screen is a really dumb way to spoon feed the lowest common denominator smartphone user that there are other things the camera can do. Words that scroll that take you into other modes. This is a design philosophy holdover from the Zune era of MP3 players, where we were still teaching consumers how to use the MP3s. We shouldn't need to spell stuff like this out today. On other phones, the stupid mode list is now so bad it takes up enough screen real estate. Many of these phones prevent you from focusing on the right side of your frame. Why? Because you might accidentally switch modes. Because that's where the stupid modes are. The Xperia solution is superior if the user actually cares about paying attention specifically to the photo or video they're trying to capture. You just go directly to the photo or video app you need. And when you're in that app, you don't have to worry about accidentally swiping out of that app into a different camera mode. Like my video on the Pixel camera app talking about the Sony here, at the end of this journey, we don't want to just get stuck talking about what's familiar. And I totally appreciate and I understand the safety of familiar. You can learn how to work around the app of another company. You can get familiar with that app layout and get good results from that app. But just because you're familiar with a cluttered camera app does not mean that app is good software design. For all the times I've seen Sony's called confusing or complicated, that reviewer has to actively ignore a design philosophy that maximizes user interaction and minimizes user distraction to empower the user to create the best content they can in that moment. Using similar interfaces and controls to the fancier cameras, those reviewers use to shoot their B-roll, because those are the tools you want when you're trying to focus on creating the best media you can. I think there are more people out there who might enjoy that idea and would be down to give it a try, even if it can be a little different. Our phones are the starter cinema cameras of the 21st century. If it's someone trying to shoot better home movies or an up-and-coming cinematographer improving their craft, phone cameras are incredible options for producing higher and higher quality content. No company lives up to that reputation better than Sony. As always, thanks so much for watching, sharing, subscribing. I greatly appreciate all of you who are supporting the channel, checking out links down below, maybe shopping a little merch. That kind of stuff really does help keep production rolling. Full list of all my affiliates and partnerships, SomeGadgetGuy.com, or you might consider, just maybe, joining the list of names scrolling by on your screen from my Patreon, patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list is basically a collection of the coolest tech pals on the planet, so I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy on the Twitters and the Twitch, and the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and I will catch you all on the next video.